Good morning, Northshore. It's Wednesday, September 26th, and actually it's Thursday, September 26th. So it's fabulous to, actually I don't think it's the 26th, it's Thursday, September 16th. So anyhow, it's fabulous that you've taken a few minutes to join us this morning. We're excited to have an opportunity to clarify some of our health and safety protocols that we're implementing. I know that you've received a lot of communication from the district in the last few days as we really strive to make sure that our educational environment and experience remains a safe and healthy one that enables our schools to stay open and our activities and athletics to continue running smoothly. So this morning, I thought it would be helpful to invite Deputy Superintendent Duggan Harman, who's overseeing our COVID response with our testing, health and safety protocols. So Duggan is going to join us this morning. There he is. Good morning, Duggan.
Dr. Reid.
Yeah, thanks for taking some time to join us. I know we've sent out a lot of communication. I also know that we're not going to be able to perfectly answer every possible scenario and question this morning, but we're going to continue, even as questions are posed this morning in the chat, to create a frequently asked questions document, which will live and continue to be updated on our website. What we'd like to do this morning is provide really an overview and as much sort of, I would call it macro detail as possible on this topic. So let's start, Duggan, with, could you provide an overview of the batch testing, kind of that 30,000 square foot, or not square foot, but 30,000 foot level? Actually, maybe after watching the launch of that spaceship and folks orbiting, what does it look like from up there in terms of our batch testing?
Certainly, happy to. So we are going to be starting weekly batch testing in our classrooms in all grades K through 12. We did this in the spring, grades 2 through 12, and the district did much of the work and I'll say shouldered all of the cost. This year, it's a little bit different. We are working with the State Department of Health, and they have a contractor, CIC Health, that is doing a lot of that work. It's not all of it. We're still having a teacher observe it, but this is going to be a self-administered test once a week, and then we will also have follow-up if there's any batches that are found to be positive. We have a process in place for follow-up confirmatory testing as well.
Yeah, I think one of the big differences from last year is we're also doing batch testing with our kindergarten and first grade, which we didn't include previously. But we certainly are seeing, our youngest learners also being impacted by the virus. So how easy is this self-administered test, given that we're also including our littles in this this new version of our testing?
Well, it's relatively easy. The teacher will observe, and the students are just going to be expected to take a swab, and this is not what we saw early in the pandemic, the deep, painful swabs. This is a shallow nasal swab, 1/2 to 3/4 inches, and we're telling kids just to paint the inside of their nostril 10 times, go to the other side 10 times, and then they put it in a tube. We know, though, and I've done a number of these, observed a number of these tests, the younger kids sometimes find that difficult, and so teachers are going to coach them. And we know that for the first week, it probably won't be perfect, but we think by the second or third time that the vast majority of even our littlest kids will be able to do this. And they seem to giggle a lot when we do trainings and the teacher or one of the central staff says, put the booger side down. And they think that's funny. It's very effective because if the swab goes in upside down, it can't be tested. So,
well, I appreciate that level of detail, Duggan. How often will students be tested?
So we're going to be doing it weekly. What we did was we broke the district up into 3 days. So Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, depending on your location, you will test. If you happen to be a school that is on Monday and we have a Monday holiday, we will be shifting that. We're still trying to figure out if we shift it to the Friday before or the Thursday after, but we will be shifting it so you don't miss a week. And then depending on any positives that are identified, we will have confirmatory testing available at Popkini on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So we think we have that covered. One of the things that is a little bit different this year is we're using local labs. Even the Department of Health is contracting with CIC Health, but CIC is working with local labs where last spring, we were, in some cases, sending samples to Boston. Now, everything is in Western Washington. So we expect 24-hour turnaround from testing time.
And I think that's really going to be an asset. I know the waiting time is excruciating sometimes. So we really appreciate our partnership with the Department of Health. They've been with the team, I know, every step of the way. So talk for a minute, Duggan, about the opt-in versus opt-out. I've received a number of questions about that, and we really want to make that as simple as possible. So do you want to clarify for folks what we mean by that?
Yes. So the first thing I would say is this is voluntary program, so parents have the opportunity to opt out at any time. Since the overwhelming majority of the feedback we received early on in this was, why make us opt in? We want this to happen. We stayed with the voluntary nature and simply made it an opt-out. So any parent who does not want their kid tested simply needs to fill out a form, and we are trying to communicate that process. At any time, a parent can change their mind. So maybe they were having testing, then they would like to opt out. There's that option. They just notify the school, submit the form. If, on the other hand, maybe they didn't know if they wanted to do this early on, but then they want to be part of it, they just need to let us know, and we can change that as well.
Yeah, and I think that was also our thinking in giving a week lead time from our notice to our first testing. We really want folks to have an opportunity to have their questions answered and concerns addressed. And at the end of the day, it is a parent's decision on whether to opt in or opt out. So really appreciate that clarity. I've received some notes about asking if families have to opt out every week. And I know I've tried to clarify that, and maybe you could take a stab at that one as well.
No, it's once only. Yep, if you choose to opt out, you have to submit a form once only, and that will be our instructions until at such time as you decide to change your mind. So,
right. I think we're the language around the time of day prior to testing is really for those folks who may choose to change their mind. But you only need to fill out the opt-out once to remain opted out. So what else should families know about testing from your perspective, Duggan?
Well, the one thing I want to make sure that everyone understands is we're never going to force a child to be tested. Even if a parent wants the child tested, if for whatever reason the child does not feel comfortable that day, we are not going to force them. I have asked school staff in that situation, if particularly one of our younger kids, if they don't feel comfortable with it, that's fine, to let the parent know in case the parent wants to talk to their child about that. And we would never do that. The other thing I think is important to know is there will be 10 students per tube. If there's a positive, those 10 students will have to quarantine until there's a confirmatory test. The whole class won't have to quarantine. It's just those 10 students. And our goal there isn't to force kids out of instruction. Our goal is to identify who the positive is as quickly as possible.
Now, I do, Duggan, I think if they are vaccinated at the secondary level and are in a batch of 10 that's positive, do they still need to quarantine? Yes, they need to quarantine simply until they get a confirmatory test, because
are breakthrough infections happening even with vaccinated people, and we need to make sure that whoever is the positive in that is identified so that we can get them quarantined and away from the rest of the population. Our goal here, our primary goal, is to keep students and staff safe.
Right, and schools open. We know that if we can isolate cases more quickly, we can keep schools open, and that's absolutely our goal. So Duggan, moving from the classroom a little bit, what can you tell us about athletics and our COVID protocols? I know those have also been evolving, even as state guidance has shifted on that topic.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the biggest issue there is first King County, and then the state followed suit requiring masking at outdoor events. Masking at indoor events has been the case since this summer, but just recently outdoor has been added. We have taken the tact, I guess, that for Pop Keeney Stadium, we will require masking regardless of the number of people there. We don't want people to have to be counting noses and say, are we under 500 or over? So Pop Keeney will always require masking. Athletes do not have to wear masks either indoors or outdoors when competing. But what we've tried to do is make sure that, in particular, our football teams, a lot of them have masks that attached to their helmets, and they're keeping their helmets on the entire time. They're in the locker room, when they're on the bus, when they're on the sidelines, so that they're constantly masked. I had a call yesterday about how about for the national anthem, and one of the schools asked if it was okay for athletes, when they take their helmets off for the national anthem, put a disposable mask on. They wanted to do that. So no problem there. That's what you'll see. As far as testing goes with athletics, that's evolving as well. And the state and WIA have put out a matrix of risk of sports. And high-risk sports are going to require testing twice a week. We have a little bit of time to ease into that because the only high-risk sport we have in Northshore in the fall season is water polo. So we have about boys water polo. So we have about 12 boys that are going to be tested twice a week with a rapid antigen test. We're working out that right now. As we move into the winter, though, we get to see more and more high-risk sports, and so we will if your child is playing a high school sport, they may be required by the state to test twice weekly, which is in addition to the batch testing.
Right. And it feels sometimes like we're responding to state mandates, which continue to evolve and change. We had new Department of Health guidance even this past Monday. So just really appreciate the ability to be nimble as these rules they continue to evolve, and they're pretty complex. So thank you, Duggan. Is there any new guidance from the health department that will affect our educational experience here for North Shore students?
Well, Dr. Reid, you mentioned the DOH guidance from Monday. So 32 pages of some light reading. I will say King County has recently updated some of their flow charts and their guidance, which has aligned better with DOH, so very happy about that. Snohomish County is in the process of doing that. One of the interesting things in North Shore is we deal with so many different municipalities and 2 different counties and trying to get everything aligned. One of the things that I'll talk a little bit about is the state has allowed what they refer to as a test to stay program. So for close contacts in schools, not close contacts outside the school day, but in the school day, there would be a testing protocol that would limit the quarantine. As of yet, the counties have not finalized that. We are working with them and hope to sign on. We have to sign a memorandum of understanding with each county, and we hope to have that soon, which will limit our quarantines for positive cases or close contacts.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think they're referring as their Test to Stay program.
Correct.
And I know we're very interested in partnering in that. Anything we can do to both keep students, staff, and the community safe, as well as minimize time outside the classroom, for sure, we want to be all in on that. So any other sort of comments on that, Duggan? There's a question, it looks like, about the amount of time it takes for test results to come back on the confirmatory test. Do you have an assessment of that yet?
Yeah, so our goal, and we think that we can deliver on this, given that we're working with local labs, is 24 hours from the time that the test gets to the lab. So the batch testing will all be in the mornings. The company will be picking up, starting the packaging and transmittal to the labs, starting at 10:30 every day. For the confirmatory testing, I think we have a 12 to 2 window, I believe, and so we think we can get stuff to the labs in the early to mid-afternoon, and within 24 hours we will have results.
Yeah, that's the real benefit of having local labs rather than East Coast labs. So
I will tease this a little bit, and I don't want to get too far out in front, but as things evolve, there are new testing technologies, and we are in line to be one of the first, I believe, in the state, and this is probably a month or 3 to 4 weeks down the road, with a confirmatory test, which is the best of both worlds between the current PCR test and the rapid antigen test. So it will have the sensitivity, or near the sensitivity, of a PCR test, but it will be resulted in 15 to 30 minutes. So for our confirmatory test, we hope to be able to potentially do that in school the same day as the batch test.
Yeah, and that is fabulous, right? I mean, as this technology evolves, it really supports health and safety and classroom participation. So that's great news, Duggan. Love it. And thanks for joining us this morning. Really appreciate you and the team, Cindy Matto, our school nurses, Clark Holmes, all of the teams working so hard, and COVID supervisors across the district. This is work on top of all the other work we do in the district. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So last week, we shared our commitment to abide by the state mandate that requires all staff and employees to be fully vaccinated by October 18th, or receive an exemption that would have accommodations connected to that. So I want to remind folks that we are adhering to that, and we will follow that guidance and directive. We also have an opportunity for our volunteers that we really rely on. They're such a huge part of our Northshore experience. And we do have a link for volunteers to submit their vaccine or proof of vaccine or vaccination as well, as we work to keep all of those inside the schoolhouse safe and healthy, to keep, again, our schools and programs running smoothly and staying open. I want to remind folks that we do have vaccine clinics coming up, and these are on-site vaccine clinics for our students. It's another round of these mobile vaccine clinics. If your student is 12 or older and needs a COVID vaccine, again, this would only be Pfizer because that's the only vaccine approved for 12 and older. Please use the link that Alex has put up. Thank you, Alex, to sign your student up. And again, many thanks to the Shoreline Fire Department and their rescue, Shoreline Fire Department, for partnering with us again, as they did last spring and at our back to school fair. It's fabulous to have such strong community partners. We know learning happens best in community, and we're thrilled to continue that partnership this year. So I'm going to go ahead and end our time together this morning, and appreciate you taking time to join us and learn more about our testing protocols. And until next week, stay safe, stay healthy, and above all, let's remember to be kind to one another, especially during these times. Thank you.